Hello, and welcome to this video on testing orthographies. People often do a lot of work to make an orthography, and they think they have a good one. Why do we need to put more effort into testing it?
By testing, we mean finding out if people can use the orthography and what parts they like or don't like. Remember that a good orthography is both usable and acceptable. People should be able to use it, and people should want to use it. We can't just assume these, we need to check and see.
Testing takes time and effort. Tell me more about why we would want to spend the time to do this.
We want people to actually use the orthography. So again, we need to find out if they can read and write it easily. Also, is there anything that people don't like that might even cause them to reject the orthography? Besides these, testing is a way of getting the community involved in developing the orthography. They can see it growing before their eyes, and they can have more of a sense of ownership. Testing also tells people that their input is welcome and a change is okay. It's better to find out problems early when it is easier to change.
Okay, I see that testing is a good idea. Can you give me more details? What exactly are we trying to find out?
For acceptability, we want to test people's preferences, what they like better. This can be a choice of script, a choice of one letter over another, a choice of whether to use diacritics, and many other choices. Ideally, people's choices should not harm usability.
These are preferences. What are you looking for when you test for usability?
We want to know if an average speaker of the language can use the orthography. We definitely want to test if there is under-differentiation and over-differentiation. These were discussed in video 9 on consonants and vowels. We also want to test tone marking in tone languages. Do you mark tone? And if so, how? See videos 10 and 11 for this. We probably want to test where to put word breaks and whether to spell words how people pronounce them quickly or how they pronounce them carefully. These are probably issues for more advanced readers. See the videos 14 and 15 on word breaks and on phonological levels.
That's quite a lot.
Yes, and there's more. We also want to make sure that we have good decisions about vowels. How many are there? What about using semivowels rather than diphthongs? How do we write bia? If the language has short and long vowels, how do we write these? And what about other different symbols? Anything different from what people already know. Also, if you have different dialects, you need to test to make sure all dialects can use the orthography. Now, stop a minute. You do not need to test for all of these things in every language. Many of these won't be a problem, but this gives an idea of the variety of things that different languages might have problems with.
Okay, I see there are a lot of things we could test. So how exactly do we do a test? Is there a difference between acceptability testing and usability testing?
Yes, but let's talk first about how to prepare for any test. Good preparation will mean a good test, and then you can trust the results. First, decide on how complicated a test you want to do. Here are 3 levels of testing. First, casual observations take the least time. With this, you ask friends to read out loud, you look at their writing, and you ask for people's opinions. This is fast, but not very complete. You may not get answers that reflect all the people. Formal testing takes the most time. With this, you do careful statistical analysis. This is needed for a published paper or if you need to convince a very skeptical audience. We won't talk about this one anymore here. Informal testing is what we'll talk about for the rest of this video. It is not as involved as formal testing, but it does more than casual observation.
I see. What are some things to remember when you prepare for both preference testing and usability testing?
First, let's talk about people. You should test a variety of people, not just your friends or part of your group. Also, make sure they are able to do the test. Don't ask them to do something they can't do. So they should have some basic reading skills. Think about who can help you to do the testing. You don't have to do it all yourself. Your helpers do need to know exactly what they're doing, and so they will need training and practice.
Besides the people, what should you keep in mind about the test itself?
Decide what you're testing for. Again, we do not want to ask people to choose something that makes the orthography less usable. Only test for one thing at a time. If you have several questions, there can be several different tests, or parts of tests. Change the order of the choices and questions. Sometimes people just choose the first choice without even looking at the others. I'll give an example later. For anything written, read your test carefully. We don't want printing mistakes.
Good. When you test for what people prefer, how should you do it?
First, don't tell them your own preference. Sometimes people tell you what they think you will like. Your question to them is, which choice do you like better? Make sure to test only one thing in a question. For example, if you want to find out what people like for the ch sound, you could show them something like this. In each row, have people circle the word they like best, or they can point. Notice the blank space at the end of the row. If a person has a choice that is not listed, we can write that one. Also, notice that the choices are listed in a different order in each row. If the person picks the first choice for every line, you know they are not really making a choice. The following is not a good question. Why? Because all the first words have the same choice, CH. Preference testing can be done as an appointment or a conversation when a visitor comes in your place. Preference testing is usually more of a natural test than other kinds of testing and has less stress. You can even do this in a group with each person having their own paper, and so get more information faster. You do need to keep a record of these with the names of people, if possible.
I see that you can do preference testing with single words, and it doesn't sound too complicated. Let's talk about usability testing. How can we test if people are able to actually read well?
For usability, you can test with one word at a time or a longer text. Let's talk about testing with single words first. There are several ways to do this, and you can pick which one seems best to you. One way is to have a picture and ask the person to write the word. This tests their writing, what is in their heads. Or you can say a word and they can write it. Rabbit. See how they do. This person did not get it right. You can also say a whole sentence and they can write that.
A real test of usability is how well people can read a paragraph or a page. How can we set up a test for this?
Yes, people don't read only single words. They read whole texts. Here are some important things to remember when you set up a test like this. First, you will be testing two different ways of writing. One paragraph will use one way of writing. The other paragraph will use a different way of writing that you're considering. See what is different in these two paragraphs, marked for you. In the actual test, of course, you would not mark what is different between the two. Remember to test only one thing at a time. You may have questions about vowels, consonants, tone, but only test for one thing at a time.
Can you use just anyone in this test? Who should you test?
You want to make sure the person is able to read and so is able to do the test. Try a practice test so the person gets to know the process. Practice with a text that does not include what you're testing for. You need to tell people clearly that you are not testing their reading ability, but you are testing the orthography. It is good to test both men and women if possible. The orthography is for everyone.
Okay, tell us more about the details of this kind of test.
First, choose the paragraph or text carefully. It should be several sentences long, not just one sentence. So it could be one or maybe two paragraphs. The text should be a natural one with a topic that people know about. It should be written by a native speaker of the language, not a translation from the outside. We want it to sound natural. It should not be too technical or complicated. Also, it is important to have a long enough text so people can sometimes even guess what is coming next. This is especially important when testing tone marking in orthography.
Finally, we get to how to actually do the test.
Yes, test one person at a time. Again, tell the person you are testing the orthography, not testing them. Set up a recorder. Give readers a copy of the test paragraph and have them read it. You can watch and listen and make notes, but it is best to record them reading so you can listen more carefully later and catch every hesitation or mistake they make. Here's how to process the test. Have a clean copy of the test for every person you test so you can write what hesitations or mistakes are made. If you have your own way of marking, that is fine. But here are a few ways people use to mark mistakes.
She walked to market yesterday to buy meat.
For a long pause, put a line in. For a very long pause, put two lines.
She walked to market yesterday to buy meat.
If a person repeats something, put a line under it.
She walked to market to buy meat.
If the person leaves out something, circle it.
She walked to market yesterday to buy goat meat.
If the person adds something, write it above the line.
She walked to market yesterday to sell meat.
If the person reads a word wrongly, write it above.
She walked to market to buy meat yesterday.
If the person switches the order of some words, mark it like this. There are other marks you could also use, but these are the most common. When you have tested 10 or 20 people, compare their mistakes. If only 1 or 2 people make a mistake at that place, there is probably no problem. But if several people make the same mistake, then that says there is a problem at that point.
It seems like this kind of test might show that there are other problems with the orthography, even besides the issue you are testing for.
Yes, so that's why it's good to keep these tests and records. If you find lots of people are having problems at the same place in the paragraph, then think about changing the orthography at that point.
We have talked about a lot of things about testing. If you want even more details, see the testing section on our SIL orthography website, especially the 2 articles by Elke Karen. Remember, testing should help you to make sure the orthography is both usable and acceptable.